Hello and welcome to another week of UKVersus. Today I am once again joined by established monomer hater Richard Plummer. I am Pink Flame Pendragon, and we're going to be going over the top 16 decks of the Rochester RLE, as well as a lot of previews. We may not get through them all because it depends on how long we actually get through, because there are some very high previews, but we'll get through as many as we can. How are you doing, Richard?
Hey everyone, yeah, I'm good as always. I thought this was becoming a miraculous CCG stream.
No. That thing is well not big enough, and it's EU only. We'd be alienating like 90% of the universe's player base if we went into miraculous. But I have had a lot of fun sending out like the miraculous stuff to people I know who have kids that watch it or watch it themselves, and then just them going, "It's not available in NA." It's like, isn't that a shame that is something that you want for a game that's not available in your country?
Yeah, but yeah, no, you've had obviously a lot of previews. Obviously, we're still going through the content creator ones. I don't know how many they've got to do. I can't imagine there's too many more.
Imagine it'd be 2 weeks.
And yeah, obviously we had the RLE taken down by a sort of, I don't think anyone's really heard of the guy. This Kevin Broberg. Yeah. It must be a new player to the game.
Gonna take off my old lady glasses. I was playing with Flynn and I thought, well, but yeah. Kevin Broberg in a hell of a final against Nomu Guy. Absolutely beautiful to see. Biggest news, of course, being that we had first time topping with Toya, Bakugo 3, Bakugo 1 finally made it to a top cut. So I don't think he's.
Yeah, I mean Bakugo 1 doesn't count because it was Tim, and Tim could top cut with a bit of lettuce. So
yeah, but people say that about Garrett Brett with his midnight deck. People saying that Garrett Brett could top with a ham sandwich.
Yeah, exactly, same thing. Like,
what about Tabe then? Constantine on Tabe.
But yeah, we had with Tabe, didn't we? We had Toya. Yeah, we had quite a very diverse top 16. So
out of the 16,
for me, one of the biggest takeaways was there was 0 Mirios, right?
Yes.
So either people are bored of playing him or people have solved him.
Yeah, the fact is, not to put against people who were playing Mirio, but the top players have now kind of cracked Mirio know how to handle it, and it comes down to the people playing it to shake things up and actually try and find new lines. But good Mirio is kind of a linear deck, and I'm getting more people now saying, what's that on your camera?
Oh.
And people, when I'm talking to people about Mirio now, people are just now starting to tell me that they're just starting to see it as Cero with extra steps. Even one person called it Wusso because you don't get to draw, which is a bit of a hot take, but I do get where they're coming from. As long as it's a case of if you can account for the half damage and bait out the commit ability, you're kind of sitting pretty. Mirio is a threat and it is something you need to be prepared for moving forward into nationals, but it is not as deadly as Overhaul, especially with the new maximum Overhaul as we saw at the weekend.
Yeah. I'm still not completely sold on Maximum Overhaul as being this kind of it breaks overhaul type thing.
As Andrew Holder called it, maximum overextend, which is what unfortunately cost Daniel their game in the top cuts. They overextended once they found it because they had it in their hands, and it caused some serious issues. And I was talking to some of the UK judges today, and they were talking about stop abilities. And I'll say it here, give your opponents time to respond. It's something we've talked about a lot on the podcast. But if when talking to the UK judges and the people that are going to be doing our nationals, they said that they've come to a consensus that if you play Maximum Overhaul, you pick up your 3 face-down cards and shuffle them into your hand, and your opponent goes, I was going to respond with something like can't stop me, which means they can't add cards to hand.
Or just a cancel, like a League of Villains or something.
Or cancel anything like you just don't give your opponent a chance to respond. They will have you display your hand to your opponent and discard 3 cards. You don't get your foundations back. You don't get to your opponent picks the cards and they're just gone.
Yeah,
that's only if they can't be distinguished against what was picked up, and if you don't give your opponent time. So it's a very niche window, but it may happen.
Yeah, I mean, there's going to be players that are going to try and rush those enhances because they think the opponent might have a response and try and almost scum it, right, by shuffling it and saying, oh, it's too late, you missed your response. Most players, I think, will just Max Murphy will pick 3 up, and then most people will, there is that window to have that response.
Even not going with the scummy side of it, it may just be almost out of time. There's 1 minute left on the round. You were the player that went second. You want to get that extra turn, so you're rushing through this final attack so you can pass and try and survive and get an extra turn, and you just completely miss it. It could be just as simple as that.
Yeah, but again, it's just the usual. Just keep good communication, a good pace of play, so that is not too fast, not too slow.
Yeah.
Simples.
Exactly, and that it was just an interesting thing that sort of came up when I was talking to a couple of judges, because one of them asked me what I would do in that situation. And I was just like, I would have them reveal the hand and then let the opponent pick and let them build 3 down committed. And we just had them completely discard them. That's a brutal ruling.
Yeah, I mean, that's usually the way it works, right? Is if you draw extra cards or anything like that, and it's a genuine mistake, you're not trying to cheat, the cards usually get removed, and are almost its own removed from game pile.
Yeah.
So that it's removed from game pile, you don't get to
you don't get to interact with it anymore.
Yeah, because I had a similar thing at the Sheffield RLE, where someone, again, this is completely accidental, essentially double activated a Revel. So the card that got milled was just permanently removed from the game.
That's fair. But yeah, no, it's interesting. I mean, national season is coming up. How's your testing going?
Yeah, I mean, I probably should do some. I've done some. I'll probably be jamming some games on Thursday. I need to try and jam some more online. I've done a few. Got a store provisional coming up this Saturday, which looks like it might have pretty good attendance. There's an outside shot, it hits cap.
Nice.
Because I know we've got probably somewhere between 4 and 7 coming from Hastings, and then I think the Essex boys are coming down as well, so maybe 3 or 4 of those, and then I think some of the Gillingham boys are coming down, and I get at least 1 or 2 of those guys. So
that's cool. Yeah. Imagine it. I don't know if Carlos and the boys might come down then.
I mean, maybe,
but I've not been able to get. I've got a little bit of testing here and there, but
yeah. I mean, hey, come down on Saturday. Down to Respawn.
I mean, I would love to, but Robin literally gets back Friday, and they'll be recharging their spoons on Saturday.
That's fair.
And we also need to make up for the fact that it was our wedding anniversary yesterday, and they were away for it, so we probably going to make up for that on Saturday as well.
Okay, that's fair.
I've got a list of excuses, but I have managed to rule Lot Clock off my list for nationals. I was seriously considering it until Luke just beat me around for 3 games as Mirio, and that was not a fun matchup. I had to have fun with the other ones, but I can primarily play during UK daytime, and there just seems to be nobody on at the minute.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the UK guys are around, and all the US guys are in bed, right? The UK guys are working, US guys are in bed, so
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think more than anything, I need to try and pick something I like, and then just jam it against meta decks. So Overhaul, Mirio, that sort of thing. Back go 3, the top of the meta.
If you have
no fade on the back go 3 guys make a top, that's great. But obviously, it's an outside one. But
I don't know. I mean, Andrew Kong is a very good back go 3 player. He hasn't brought it to an event yet, but I know he's been refining that list for at least the majority of this year. So he may pop it out now. Now that it's made a top cut.
The sort of Momos, the Eraser Heads, that sort of thing.
Amajiki. If you haven't tested against Amajiki, I would 100% recommend it. I had my first game against Amajiki. I lost 2-1 in a very close game against my friend William. And it was just an absolute grind of a game. It's something I had to... It's something that made me have to think a lot more than I thought I was going to do. And once Amajiki gets set up, it's very hard to deal with.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. Amajiki needs those turns to get set up, right? But, like, I think Jiro should have a decent matchup against Amajiki in general. Like, because, like, Jiro's probably top of my list. Whether that's all, whether that's air, whether that's going, like, more flashy based, I don't know. But, like, I feel like Jiro should have a good matchup against Amajiki. Again, you've got the flash moves to take away the enhanced step. They don't have much life. Jiro's quite a high aggro character. Jiro can just punch you in the face on turn 2, and if you've only got 19 and you don't have your momentum set up, you're just dead. Like, because I remember talking to Brandon, who top 8'd the Sheffield RLE with Amajiki, and I think his top 16 was against Jiro. We sort of chatted about it briefly beforehand, and just saying, like, I think, like, you can win this, but I think it's going to be a tough matchup for you. You just got to survive that early aggression, and obviously he did. He got the win. So
that's kind of the big thing with 7-hander versus 6-hander. You can outbuild and outdefend early, but as the game goes on and 6-handers need to build less, they can.
Yeah, I mean, I think with Jiro, you just need to punch early, right, against Amajiki, because the more it gets up. Like, all might have more game against it because I get to play Capture Evildoers. And, like, playing, if I play with the all list, it's probably playing the 8 flash moves, so you don't get to DR it, you don't get to Broken Psyche them.
Yeah.
You don't get to speed reduce it, you've got to block fairly.
That's, well, you
I don't know, it's one of those matches worth testing against, right?
It's definitely one I would say worth testing. It's also kind of hard testing against each other at the minute, because as I was talking to some of the people in Doncaster and stuff like that, they'll only play the Nationals deck against each other. They're happy to play other decks that they're not considering against other people, but they only play their Nationals decks against each other, so they're not giving any information away.
Yeah, exactly. No one wants to give away the spice, and I understand that. Like, I'm sure, because obviously I know Mike's mentioned about, weekly shout out there. He's got some spice, but obviously doesn't want to share it, and that's totally fair, right? I am less kind of bothered. Like, I think if I came up with something broken and I'm like, this is Busto, then I probably would keep it on the down low. But there's a good chance I'll just play something else. So, like, I feel like maybe I should just practice with Mirio and try that, because it's the sort of thing I'd probably enjoy, because it just tries to punch people to death.
I've been considering the same with...
Deku 2 is an option, but I feel like if I was going to play Deku 2, I should play it on life, but I tried it and I hated it. I hate the life symbol. Like, it's just not me. And I think Deku 2 good probably doesn't match up very well against the meta. Like, I think it probably doesn't beat Overhaul very well.
I mean, Overhaul good, you do... Sorry, Deku 2 good, you lose a few things, but you don't lose too much. I mean, you probably gain more. You get pretty much every stun hate piece in the game at the minute.
But it's just like when you're trying to fling like 3 or 4 attacks, like 8 damage. Like, I feel like Overhaul just blocks those all day and doesn't get them, and then you don't.
I think if you're going to run Deku 2, you need to find a list that you're comfortable running one for Unleashed in, because I think that is going to be a massive turning point where you can just keep building for everything you discard for cost.
Nah, because it doesn't. The building part doesn't matter. Is you're using your hand resources, right? So you need the draw. Yeah.
If you want, the draw aspect, you'd probably want to go life, because you get access to.
I think at a tournament at Nationals, I'm not taking 1 checks.
That's fair. That's fair. I want to find a deck. I want to find a deck where I've got my Dabby level of confidence. All this year,
Yeah.
I've been taking my Mina level of confidence decks, where I've got minimal testing with them. I've not got anywhere near the kind of gameplay I'd usually get in with them, and I'm kind of playing off my cuff. Whereas last year for Nationals, for HLC, even for the webcam RLE I took part in the August, I had played about 200 games with Dabby. Even if I changed up the attack lineup, I knew how to play it. A couple of weeks ago, I played it in the webcam weeklies against Luke and the other Sheffield guys, and I can play Dabby. I can pretty much play Dabby one hand tied behind my back now. I'm playing comfortably, and that's the kind of level. And that's the kind of level I need to get to with these national characters. But it's if I can get enough games in the next 4 weeks to get to that kind of comfortability level.
It's always the thing, right? There might be a sort of top list of characters, symbol combinations, right? That are the meta. But in terms of when you're trying to take a deck somewhere and win with it, it's far more valuable to have something that you are comfortable with and enjoy and know how to play. Obviously, to an extent, it doesn't matter how comfortable, how much you enjoy playing backdraft, if that's what you're going to take. But like having a good enough deck that you're confident and know how to play, then it's always worthwhile. Evening, Adam.
Good evening, Adam. We'll get to the table after we go for that, and we'll get started. Just following through. It's something I would say to newer players when going to a main big event. Take something you're comfortable with and something that you're going to have fun with, because if you don't, then you're just going to sit there, have a really bad time, and every loss is going to sting more because you're trying to play something outside your comfort zone that you think should win, rather than playing something that you have fun playing and each win feels good and each loss is like, well, at least I did everything I could with a character I love. And that's how I felt with Dabby, that's how I felt with Mina. Midnight, I'm not quite there yet. There's a few other characters like Lock, I get that same feeling for. It's this case of I like to just have fun with it, and that's something for Nationals I need to find. I need to find a deck that no matter what happens, I can look at my deck and go, we did everything we could.
Yeah, and that's where probably my top two would be Jiro and Tokiyami. They're the decks I know. I've been playing Jiro quite a lot recently. I know how to push those buttons. I played Tokiyami obviously last year at Nationals. I played a lot of Tokiyami over the week. Over my time playing this game, I know how to press those buttons. It doesn't really matter what symbol it is. I know how to mill the top 5 and pull out Summon Dark Shadow.
I mean,
it's not exactly necessarily a big brain deck, but
if you're going for the,
I enjoy play. I enjoy being the aggressor, basically. Yeah. So
Tokiyami would pretty much guarantee you the diversity promo.
No, not at all. I'd expect more multiple Tokiyamis there.
Yeah, I expect multiple Tokiyamis, but I don't think any of them will place higher than you.
Not necessarily. Again, it's the thing that puts me off Tokiyami is it's very much how many dice rolls do I think we're going to win. With the Chaos version, you were always quite happy going second. You would always pick going first, but you didn't mind going second. At last year's Nationals, I didn't win a single dice roll. I was fine. But I think with the Fire version, you sort of live and die on the dice roll a little bit because it's just so much more aggressive. Doesn't have the defense shadow. It's got some defense, but it doesn't have anywhere near the defense Chaos had.
Have you looked at Evil yet? Because
Evil doesn't have card draw. I played around putting a list together. It does cool things, right? You get to play the set 5 you are that gets 6 damage. So it gets a damage for every 6 cards.
Yeah, you also get things like Chronos. Yeah, you get Chronostasis Trigger, which can change zone.
Yeah.
Seal characters, freeze foundations.
Yeah, you don't get to commit something, but you do get to do the blood curdle effect, and it gives you you get to play 4 Chronostasis Trigger, you get to play 4 Vile Seizing, so you get loads of breaker blocks, right?
Tokiyami Vile Seizing feels nasty.
You don't have card draw is the problem.
No.
Outside of Seizing, all of the card draw you could play is conditional. Vile Seizing, so like coping with number one you could play, excited for blood.
Yeah.
All of it is conditional, and I don't think it's good enough. I guess Rapper has got evil, hasn't he? He must have evil.
I think Rapper is Fire Evil Order, which and Adam's saying he's going to be talking Rapper.
Play his flip to draw a card if they block with an attack thing, but again, it's just
Season
more,
Brawler. Yeah, Season Brawler.
Yeah, more conditional draw, and I don't think he's got enough raw draw power for him to be good enough.
I'm surprised we haven't seen an Order Rapper Punches deck yet that abuses repeated smash.
Yeah, I think maybe there's just not enough good Order punches is the issue.
Future Charge, Setup Strike, Reverse Throw, all the Midoriya 1 stuff.
Yeah, all the Midoriya 1 stuff, but most of this Midoriya 1 stuff aren't great. Like, Future Charge, cool. Heroic Strike, great. Because I'm pretty it basically runs out very quickly on punches you actually want to play on Order.
But I'm just thinking if you is it Aspiration Strike that you play it, you add 1 to momentum, and you can play bullet punches. You can then Rapper it or Echo it, and then you can add the Aspiration Punch into momentum. I'm building a Rapper Punches deck in my head. I don't want to play Rapper Punches.
Well, what you could do is you could play Funny Punch, right? That's what you could do on Order.
So Charlie from Little Holton was playing Rapper all mids Funny Punches at the RLE.
Yeah. I don't think it's necessarily good, but it's something you could
It's something fun.
Yeah.
If I was going to play Funny...
The other thing Evil Bird gets to do is play Tongue Whip.
True. You get to play Amphibious Ambush as well.
Yeah, but I don't think you necessarily... Oh yeah, I'm playing pretty much all ranged. Like, my list was like 4 Seizing, 4 Ruin, 4 Surging Crystal Darts, 4 Trigger, 4
you get to play Insatiable Appetite as well, the Tabe card, which adds momentum to the card pool and then gets +1 for each card that's been removed from the card.
No, I think that's a Tabe enhance, isn't it?
Is that a Tabe? I
think his momentum hate is a Tabe enhance. But you get to play things like Barrier Shield, Sticky Balls.
I'm going to get into Barrier Shield at some point.
Like, it gets to do some cool things. The thing that, like, loses it for me is the draw.
Yeah, the lack of draw power.
You get to play, like, 12 breaker blocks and be happy with it.
I think Evil's the most defensive of the symbols because of how many breakers, because of you can play Twisting Surroundings, but you lose out on the card draw. Adam is in the chat. It's hilarious. I was sat down to him in game on the RLE, and we were just having a laugh as our opponents sweaty bucket. Yeah, Charlie does like to have a laugh while playing games. He doesn't. He takes every game not as seriously as other people will do. But he does have a lot of fun playing the game. I played against him when I went to visit family up north a while back. I played against him on TTS a few times as well. Absolutely hates my Lot deck, which is hilarious. But it is 9:30. We should probably move on to these deck lists before. Yes. So let's start off with. Speaking of tablets, let's start off with Toya. Constantine, top 16 with Toya on Evil. We did manage to see this on stream a couple of times. Very interesting list. Running the 3 maximum overhauls doesn't get the build ability, but you do get the pickup ability because Tabe can play from anywhere. You don't really need to run that many sort of synergistic attacks because you get to play your opponent stuff.
No, you almost sort of can't, right? Because of how mixed your stuff is. Obviously, Toya getting Adam a big fat stack of points, which is wonderful in the old draft.
I more than doubled my points.
Oh.
I'm just looking at the Dark Shadow Ruin, and I'm looking for where the speed bonus is.
He gives it on face, doesn't he?
Oh yeah, he gives generic speed on face, and then you've got damage from things like bench press and brute strength. And that's not a bad little shout. Needle stab is instant
It's just a
momentum.
big old bomb. It's interesting because he's not playing any sort of offensive actions, right? He's not playing barrier shield or run away during his attack.
No.
Yeah.
It is a very kind of defensive list, but looking at the...
Again, you get to play tongue whips, touch terror to pick them up.
Yeah.
It's just like there's some attacks I'm like, again, obviously he top 16 with it.
Yeah.
Obviously we were doing with it. The maximum overhaul seems strange to me. Maybe he just wants those like big old bombs like the maximum overhaul Dark Shadow Ruin just to say he's 10 catch.
And it's also, you've got Toya's ability to pop it off, and you've also got inverted knife throw, which allows you to fulfill the requirements of maximum overhaul. The lack of chronostasis trigger is the one for me. If you're playing on evil anyway, getting that ability to change, being able to seal a character seems really strong.
Especially with the chronostasis in the sideboard, like maybe he just wanted extra breaker blocks in the main for if he ever went into chronostasis. I don't know how often he was doing that.
Well, the chronostasis trigger is a 2. Is a breaker 2. You've got a little friend on your camera again.
For God's sake. Sorry, apologies, viewers. There's a fly going around in my kitchen that's really annoying, and obviously I can't.
He wants to be a star. I'll let you know when he comes up from there. Needle stab was going to momentum. That is all, I imagine.
You're thinking of the other one, right? You're thinking of dual needle lunge.
Oh, dual needle lunge.
Needle stab is like, what does he want momentum for in this deck? Nothing.
Touch terror.
I guess. But you just sort of need that, but that again, that feels like high cost.
Twisting surrounding, I guess. Eri also requires it.
Maybe.
Like I said, this guy top 16. It may have been like just.
Yeah, again, it's one of those lists that without playing it, I can't really tell you what this deck's trying to necessarily, what its game plan is, other than maybe it's trying to be defensive and just take what the opponent gives them.
Well, you can see that from
Needle stab would be a good way of generating momentum if you like, I don't know, went tongue whip into I'll play your howitzer from your core or something, you know.
With rejuvenating, with back alley, with repeated smash, with lots of cards that want momentum, being able to just add stuff at will to momentum, being able to utilize momentum using the ability. Toya,
it's just tough again because of evil, where you don't have card draw to be spending 3 cards like that to generate. Is it 3 cards for 2 momentum? I think, isn't it?
Something like that. Yeah. Toya for me feels like an upgraded monomer because you're not taking the abilities, you're just getting to use your opponent. The stronger your opponent's cards, the stronger you are, and the worse they check, the more things are on the menu for you.
Yeah, and obviously he's not playing his face attack, right? So he's not playing borrowed goods.
No, which is momentum hate and gives you momentum.
Yeah, again, I would have thought that Capture would do his on attack was pretty good.
I said this during hours a lot, and people messaged me saying I was wrong. But it feels like this is a deck list that started off with what we're pointing out and has been cultivated into this list through playing.
Like he maybe started off by playing 4 borrowed goods and then decided actually it's not good enough and cut them. That's quite possible. Again, I've not played this guy, so I couldn't tell you.
No, I haven't played against it either, and it was one of the things I would love to. I've played him once in the draft at the RLE, and he was so much fun. I had a lot of fun playing him until I came across Mike Zamajiki, who completely just shut me down. But yeah, I do feel maybe controversially there was a bit of surprise factor to people coming across this and not knowing how to actually deal with it. But Constantine, we saw him on stream. He played like a boss and did a lot of work.
Yeah, again, it would have been good to watch this on stream just so I can get a feel for how the deck plays. But yeah, I didn't get a chance. So
let's move on to possibly the most confusing deck list that we have is Garrett Brett on Midnight. I looked at this on Sunday and I actually had to ask Mike Hardiman for help understanding what was going on this list because I played Midnight at the RLE. I was one position away from topping, so I wanted to see how Garrett did what I didn't do. He topped quite high as well, being ninth. And yeah, no, this is just.
What did he lose to in the end?
Hmm?
What did Garrett lose to?
Garrett lost to Amajiki.
Okay.
Yeah, Garrett lost to Chaos Amajiki, which is a list that I had practiced against. I think on Friday. But look, it's lots of one-offs, lots of two-offs, lots of actions. Everyone has basically said this is a Garrett Brett list. It's one of those lists that we can look at, but possibly not even fully comprehend.
Yeah, we're not big-brained enough. Because obviously, like, you know, again, probably for people newer to the game, like myself, as far as I'm aware, like, I think he's the most decorated UVS player in history. Or if he isn't, then he's very close, like, in terms of the amount of, like, face cards he has. Because, again, for those new to My Hero that don't know the sort of history so much, when you used to win and if you're not sure, go back and watch our video on that stuff with Mr. Squire.
Right.
But yeah, when you used to win like a Worlds or a Nationals or a Teams Worlds or Nationals, you used to then get to design a card with your face on it, or sort of a likeness. I think he has the most, or if not, then it's he's one of the most.
Yeah, Adam, I looked at his list and I had so many questions. I went into our little group chat and I asked if I could get Garrett's Discord handle so I could message him, and then Mr. Nathan James got very defensive over Garrett being his little buddy. So I reached out to Mike Hadman, reached out to me and asked if I had any questions, he'd help me out. So the lack of punches. Apparently, the repeated smash was just not good enough. It required you to play cards that detracted from what Garrett felt the deck was going for and forced you to play bad cards, from what I was told.
Yeah.
Rejuvenating still very strong in here. It's a nice little hybrid list.
Yeah. The only one that, so we've got Shrapnel Tooth. I can't even remember what and Binding Armbar. I can't remember what those cards do.
Shrapnel Tooth is the free cost. Free cost that I believe gives your next attack free damage if it hits. Binding Armbar is a throw that combos with combo, but I cannot remember what it does.
Yeah, Shrapnel Tooth, flip. Again, you might want the board control from it. Flip a Committed Royal Foundation. It's a 3-diff, so you can play it late in the string.
Garrett has 5 characters across every symbol, according to Adam. Except Infinity. But Infinity's not a symbol. But yeah, the 3 engine troubles in there are for low breaker blocks, which is something that was missing from the deck. And if Garrett was feeling that the attack lineup was going to wind up soon, could start committing things that were going to be an issue in his turn.
Yeah, so looking at things like Shrapnel Tooth and Binding Armbar, it looks like he wants it there for board control.
Yeah.
Again, I'm sort of making assumptions here. Borrowed Goods, what can he actually combo with in terms of face downs?
Well, no, I honestly think it's in there for the momentum hate.
Quite possibly, yeah.
You might also get Faith Shielded or Cheerful Uppercutted, which you can then have it there, but it's only a one-of, and it's momentum hate. Same with Expert Flurry, it's in there.
Yeah, you don't necessarily need to combo it to describe a card. It's a combo for his other things that rely on combo, right? And it's a combo you can happily start with.
It gets you momentum, and then you can play Rejuvenating, commit Midnight, get your extra momentum, and you got 6 speed. You got an additional, you got 9 speed on there after you commit Foundation.
Twin Forward is an Echo, isn't it? I'm sure that's the Echo one.
Which one? Twin Sword. Expert Flurry gives your next attack +2, and on combo forces your opponent to discard momentum, which is a good shout. Momentum hate is a big issue.
Mm-hmm.
Big one for me is, and something I can't really see on here, is Deadlock outs. You have got
Void doesn't get great ones.
No, it's got idle. It's got idle work, and that's pretty much it. You've got to rely on things like All Worked Up and What's the other one as well? The Mediator that destroy themselves. You got Hard and Uppercut is probably what in there to deal with Deadlock because it can destroy 2 face down foundations. Which is really cool. Red Right's the coolest. So the foundations feel like a very mid-rangey foundation. You got some damage.
Yeah.
Saving Bakugo for me was is one I kind of had ruled out, but it does make sense because you want to kind of protect your key pieces.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, especially again, this feels very control-y, right?
Yeah.
Again, if you look at a lot of his attacks, he's trying to control what the opponent's doing, like seal, lock down their foundations, deal with their momentum. So having some defense for your key pieces on your board for flips like, seizing, which is coming back a bit, makes sense.
I asked about the one of easily excited, and I was told as a response that if +2 speed is making all the difference in your attack lineup, then you're in a worse position than you know. And I'm not sure how I feel about that, but it does make a weird amount of sense to me.
Yeah, again, it might just be a case we wanted one extra 0 and that was the slot. Like, Midnight doesn't need to play zeros for speed.
Top pro heroes in the side makes perfect sense when you're going up against. It's something I consider putting in for the RLE. When you go up against flash decks, when you're going up against decks that rely on their keywords to do work, you can use top pro hero, get rid of one of those keywords on play. Yes, it makes Midnight's speed reduction a little bit harder, a little bit worse, but you get rid of a big threat. Only 2 raises in the sideboard for the Eraserhead was something that wasn't answered. But I guess it kind of makes sense. Like I said, we could make
enough to play it with 2.
We could make an entire podcast episode on this deck because it is so complicated, so niche.
Again, I think what this is saying is if you look at all the one-offs, it's Midnight, right? Midnight can see as many cards as she wants over a turn cycle. So having lots of one-offs and sort of tech pieces makes sense because you can cycle through so many cards. If you need your Dissolving the Conflict, you can probably cycle into it, and in matches where you don't need it, you can it's a thing you're happy to pitch.
And that is something I need to get more used.
Like playing a main deck Blood Curdle. It's like, okay, some matches, having a Blood Curdle game 1 is great. Some matches, Blood Curdle is basically a dead card.
But it doesn't matter when you're Midnight because you get the once per turn mulligans, which is something I need to use a bit more.
Freely mulligans, so you've got that space and that freedom to just say, I can play these techie one-offs and just pitch them.
Exactly. Right. Well, here's Mr. Kong. We were just talking about you earlier in the video, saying that Bakugo 3 top cut. I know you've been working on your deck for about a year now, so you must be feeling quite hyped up to try and maybe run it at Nationals and see how it goes. But yeah, you must be very happy that Bakugo 3 got there. But congratulations to Gatbrett. This is the first Midnight top, same as the first toy for Constantine. Well done.
Got you some points on the board finally.
He did give me some points. I got very close to getting myself points on the board, but unfortunately it did not. We got Robert Snyder with Kendo Rapper. Fire list, quite similar to what we've seen with other ones, apart from now we've got Chad Shieldbreaker, which is an absolute amazing card. I think gonna look it up now. This is the new card that got legalized from the provisionals that gets +1 speed for each ready for opponent foundation.
Yeah, it's just very, very fast and very, very big, and sort of to an extent solves a bit of Rapper's problem where he doesn't get stats. This just has a lot of stats, right? It doesn't do anything big, doesn't do anything clever, but it has a lot of stats, and also is a nice, low breaker block. So
low breaker block. It's a 2-check in a deck that's already running 4 2-checks.
Yeah,
but
Rapper doesn't care about his checks.
No,
he's just gonna kill you or die, right? And it's it's that basically. I guess it's sort of to an extent replaced the Prominence Burn from the list at the UKRLE.
Yeah, I like the addition of Downward Frostspike. Extra damage to your next punch, and the Deadlock threat seems really good if you are going to go longer. This deck seems to be more leaning towards, okay, I might not be able to kill them turn 2, but I'm going to put them in a position where they have to at least be prepared for me to kill them the next turn.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just trying to. I'm gonna maybe build once or build twice, depending on how my turn one build goes, and then you got your blue flames and stuff to stuff your momentum, maybe a capture, and then just bullet punch him to death. That's sort of what Rapper wants to do, right?
No calorie counters in this one.
Yes, probably because I imagine the Chill Breaker's taking that low block spot. And again, the trouble I find with stuff like calorie counter is it's very swingy, right? When you can play it through a 3 diff, it's amazing. But it is a mid, but also not always can you play it for a 3. Like, you open your hand with 2 calorie counters and that's all your attacks. You're just in misery town. It's always one of the issues I have with Deku 2 is there's so many, especially on good, there's so many attacks that you don't want to ever lead on. Like, you need your lead off attack, right?
Yeah.
And calorie counter ain't it. And sometimes they just don't block, and it's just sort of a dead card.
Yeah,
and so I think with this, you just want to be able to say, I'm not going to care what you do. You might do stuff, but your blocking doesn't. I'm not reliant on playing these attacks based on what you're doing.
No.
So I understand not playing calorie counter. Like, it feels almost like a no-brainer in Nomu, because Nomu basically also is okay playing it on a 6 because it's just a billion damage.
12 damage is 12 damage, yeah. But yeah, and yeah. I get that of not wanting having attacks that you don't want to lead off on, because I mean, I played Dabby for a very long time.
You don't want to lead on, right? You want those to be your second in pool.
Yeah, it's the same as when I was playing Dabby, when I got Twisting Gazers and Double Jet Pummels. It's a case of, cool, I need one other attack to lead off on, because I cannot lead off with these attacks. And when half the attacks you can't lead off on, it's a bad move. Kirishima's Assistance is a nice one that we don't really see that often, with the flip getting to seal a block.
Yeah, so, I mean, he's not playing a lot of mids here, right? Like, the ones that something like, say, a Faith Shield is going to want to block. Like, Faith Shield wants to block bullet punches all day long, because it's high. You just half block, you half block it, take no damage Faith Shield, flip it. No echo, no lifting. Kirishima Assistance stops them face shielding or bullet punches.
Yeah,
I'd imagine that's the major thing.
Also prevents breaker blocks, which could also negate your
on a half block, but so it can stop breaker. Breaker, I think Rapper doesn't necessarily care so much about, because he's Rapper. Checks don't really matter. I think it's more for face shielding the bullet punches. Would be
face shield, red guards, any of those kind of stuff. But no, it's a nice little list. It's strange to see the sideboard being pure foundations and not like an attack switch up. But
yeah, again, how often I found that is that my attack lineup is based on what I want to do. There isn't necessarily techie pieces. I want to just change up my actions and foundations to make my plan A go better. And there isn't necessarily anything that you want to bring in against matchups that's going to be any better than just what you're doing.
That's fair. Let's move over to congratulations, Robert Snyder. And let's move over to Robert Levine playing Air Jiro. It is an Air Jiro list. It does not have much of set 5 in there. We've seen.
Yeah, I mean, traditional Air Jiro doesn't play much of, I think, either set 4 or set 5, right?
We're seeing Amplified Sound Blast. We're seeing the flashes come in. You were saying Pillar Swing, which is a one we haven't seen in Jiro for a while. Airstream Diver, which I absolutely love, and Earphone Jack, adding a little bit of extra speed and mill.
Yeah, Earphone Jack's one of those ones I'm never really sure about. A lot of people love it. A lot of people just think it's superfluous. Like, it's nice being able to put 1 speed on everything, sure, but like, sometimes it's a lot better just to have the foundation. This is the one thing that really puts me off about Air Jiro list. Is double jab pummel. I know you're gonna complain, but like, it just being a 3 mid, like I don't want them to block, or if they do, then I want them to have to pay for it. double jab, quite often, like I just block double jab on my sure cycle. I'm just not getting hit by it. And yet it helps you string, but it's just so very, very blockable and very, very easily blockable that I do wonder whether it's correct for Air to be playing it. I don't know.
In all honesty, the fact that it needs to be comboed, the fact that you can't lead off of it and stuff like that, I do understand going from there. It's a great deadlock card for Joe to have, and probably maybe more of a sideboard card. But
again, sometimes your checks don't necessarily matter because you can always just stack it, right?
That's in those situations. I'm surprised that people are still running double jab, and we haven't seen a move over to Spiral Wave Surge, which is a 4 mid for 4. It's still mid. It's a 4 mid 4, which is a bit hard to deal with. It's a charge. It still gets all the damage that double jab will get, and you lose 1 life. It gets 2 more damage. So, and then it's got.
I think I'd still rather run double jab pummel over that, but like,
if it's blocked, you get +1 to your next check for every attack that's been blocked this turn.
Yeah, but quite often they just don't block the first one because you just lead off on a jolt and nobody ever blocks the jolt.
Yeah.
Right? So
it's something I would definitely be running in Jiro, maybe even over Pillar Swing, but there's no instant explosive releases in here, so this feels like a bit more of a slower burn. So it's not trying to turn two.
Yeah, there's no IR, there's no zero grav left, right? They're the ones that are sort of missing.
Yeah, I absolutely love Airstream driving here. It's a great answer to Eri. It does a great job of just absolutely dealing with the issues. There's no, and this is saying that highs are your kill condition. There's no 1.3 million apart from in the sideboard, and then you sideboard it in maybe game 3, and when they're holding all highs, and you go, "Here's my low to kill you."
Yeah, no, I do definitely. I like the idea of the Airstream driver as like a spicy one of an answer for Eri. Like there was certainly when I was, obviously I was just playing the Silly Storm version.
Yeah.
But there were definitely a couple of games where I could have probably won them if it weren't for my opponent having Eri. I think it was by playing against Tarbe. Like I think they felt winnable, except there was just both games I could not get through the Eri.
It's one of the things that asset control is something you really need. It's one of the things that is stopping me playing Dabby. Is Chaos not having great asset control? But then
many people do, to be honest.
No.
There's not that much that interacts with them that much.
If you're running all, this one isn't. But if you're running all, you could always just put a couple of erasers in the sideboard because you can just literally play them to seal an asset.
Yeah, feels like I'd rather just play another attack after the Eri, right?
That's kind of how I've been doing it. Is a case of I'm getting you into a position where you need to use this Eri, and then I'm just going to whittle down you from your one.
Yeah,
but
yeah, like not really playing any sort of snap momentum things, right?
I think the 4 of Arrogant Disposition being one of the only 4 of foundations is very good in the current meta. It helps you deal with repeated. It helps you deal with back alley.
Like I was having this discussion on one of the Discords. Like I think, like to me, getting to run 4 Arrogant Disposition with a straight face is one of the main pulls to running Air Jiro, right? Yeah. Like it's that low block for when you need the low blocks against like a mirror that's calling all those, whatever. Like it's a 1, so it's a spam, it's a 6 check for your specialized sound waves and just having a nice chip 6 check in general. And
it's punch hate.
It's punch hate, and most of half the decks in the format are playing punch lineups. So, like,
and even those that aren't running it primarily still have a couple of punches mixed in there.
Yeah, like they'll be playing they'll just be playing haymakers out playing a punch package or something. But even double jack pommel in here is a punch, right? It's a punch charge. So yeah, again, I understand why double jab pommel gets played. I think it might be a feels good card rather than actual good card. That might be a hot take.
I mean, it's a +2 to your check that business. If you block me, I get to cycle, and it's the same argument that you had with me over Confession. Giving your opponent the ability to cycle, draw 2 cards, and change their hand can completely change the flow of what their turn could have been.
Sure. I'm not saying it's necessarily bad. I just feel like it's too blockable. I just want my things to kill them, right? I want things like home run comet, specialized sound waves. They kill them, and they keep them honest in terms of their blocking, right? Home run comet, you play it at the end of the string generally, and it kind of gets loads of stats, or it's doing a bit more thing. It gets you that momentum to get your sound wave string. Sound waves obviously gets the chain going. It's flash. They can't interact you. They need to block honestly. Jolt gets you the momentum. It's like these all things like they're doing. They feel like they're doing more than the double jump pummel. Like I don't know.
Like I said, I'm a massive double jump pummel stan. I absolutely love it, and I think in set of 5, in set of 6, it's going to get even better. But hopefully we'll get onto that a little bit later on. But yeah, you're entitled to your hot takes. I do not agree with you. I think double jump pummel is one of the things that's keeping Jiro very relevant. Because even if you're blocking it, it's still a hand tax, and it's a card that can essentially just keep you going because it's resource management. But yeah, congratulations to Ryan. This is a very cool deck, and it's great to see an older Jiro list being brought back with a little bit of differences as well. Let's move over to Frank with one of the only 2 overhauls to make it into Top Cut, Overhaul Earth, as we had no life ones this time, which is really interesting.
Yeah. So again, that might be a case of no one wanted to play it. Again, people might have found the answers for it. They just, or they did like, what happened with Ojiro 2, that one RLE where they just kind of all knocked each other out type thing. Don't know, or maybe people just wanted to play with maximum overhauls to play on there.
Well, that's what happened to the Jiros in the Top Cut.
I'm assuming it's just got overhaul symbols, right?
Yeah, maximum overhaul has overhaul symbols, yeah. So we're seeing every card with Kirishima's face on it, a back alley, a naval laser beam, and a maximum overhaul.
Yeah, it's just that hardened package, right?
Hardened Blitz makes perfect sense here. It becomes a 4, 11, 13 with overhaul that cannot be removed. You have to deal with it, and it gets speed for every foundation that you've destroyed this turn. When you're running things like brute strength, and is there brute strength in here?
No.
Oh, so maybe not too much, but then you got all out battle, which gives speed, maximum hardening, which allows you to get lots of damage. Hardened Blitz is a one-off. It seems perfect as a sort of kill card. Maximum overhaul doesn't feel too great here, but the overall list kind of makes sense.
Just in general.
Yeah.
I'm not a huge fan. Like, it's cool, but yeah. It's just sort of standard Earth good stuff to an extent, right?
Trishi Cape in Overhaul Earth to me makes a lot of sense because you get to start on flipping finger your opponent's turn, which seems really cool. And I would love to get the 2 Overhaul Earths and get to talk to them about how abusable new training method has been. Now, after our discussion last week, I have started to notice more and more how abusable new training method is in Overhaul, especially now we've got maximum overhaul, and it's one of those things that I didn't notice until we started talking about it, and now I cannot unsee how much value new training method has in this overhaul list.
Well, it's got the 4 and the 2, right? It's very good.
Again, this is a list of a lot of one-offs. It seems to be only a one-off Red Guard and a one-off Faith Shields. Not too worried about Miriams.
That's fairly standard, right? Again, you can usually find it and put it face down when you need it, and then you can block with them and stuff like that. And then you've obviously got the extras in the sideboard when you need them.
Yeah, instant Shining Flash to deal with momentum. It seems like
learning the standards was quite a big thing. Like, I found sort of some of the matches I watched, I think it's probably a little underplayed at the moment as a card. It's just very, very, very good.
I did see, I can't remember which game it was, but I think it was the finals where there was 2 learning standards down and the response was used to build.
That was one of the decisions that I think, a lot of commentators were not convinced about.
Yeah, that was
one where, it's hard to know the correct play in those situations. And obviously we've got almost perfect information compared to what the players have. So
we don't have the stress of actually playing or being going on there. But yeah, this is a really cool list, and I think my friend Kai would absolutely love it because of all the Kirishima cards in here.
Yeah, it's sort of Kirishima Tribal, right?
Yeah, it's Kirishima Tribal with. I'm surprised there's no Kirishimas in the sideboard, but the sideboard's very cool. It's a nice defensive package that can also punch you very hard.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations. Let's move on to Davin, who was the Bakugo 3 player. Absolutely monster list, completely destroying all the way through. It reminded me of games I played against Andrew. If Bakugo 3 draws hot, he can kill you from any position. It is.
Yeah, I don't actually know what the text on Bakugo 3 says. I can't remember it.
So you discard a Bakugo card from your hand. This attack gets +2 damage, and you may discard a Fury from your card pool.
Okay. And three foundations, draw 2, only if you've got less hands. So, okay.
Yeah. So the idea is that you play loads of Bakugo 1s in here, which gives you great sideboarding. You've got Nomu in the sideboard as well, but it allows you to just keep going. And thanks to cards like Impact Cyclone, you do get to just start shoving things in your momentum as well. Keep drawing, keep going. The entire aspect.
Stun grenade for 1 million at some point during the string.
That's just it. So you basically just keep hitting. It's not as
much. It's just like a lot of spam, right?
Yeah. The main issue is you are limited by how many Bakugos you have in hand. You haven't got that many ways to pick them up, and you are burning through them quite a lot.
Yeah.
But if you can keep drawing, you can keep getting there. It's more of a setup, but sometimes you just draw hot turn 2.
Yeah,
and
you're playing 8 2-diffs and everything else is spam, from what I can tell. So it's just trying to kill you.
Yeah, it's trying to build up very quickly, survive the turn.
But again, there's lots of filter here, right? He's got 2 signature right swings, the 4 latent skill.
Yeah.
Excited for blood.
Yeah, Excited for blood does a good job.
Yeah, and like Jaw Needle Lunge clears itself, Nitro can clear itself, draw a bajillion off Howitzer, draw another card for Stun Grenade, draw another card for Fast. So there's a lot of drawing filter to try and get to those Bakugos when you need them to keep those strings going. So I can sort of see how, where we look to those other decks, and I'm like, what is this doing? How is this working? I don't know unless I see it played or play it myself.
It's a great choice. It's a great choice in the current meta because not too many decks are geared for turn 2, I'm going to kill you sort of play. Especially when you're looking at this kind of mono high, just die sort of list. It's kind of the same thing that Rapper's doing, but this one, you're not losing foundations. You're clearing your card pool, so you're clearing progressive as well. It's
more a lot of things like the forcing surrenders, right? So even if they face shield block something, flip it, you can always just clear it with forcing surrender. Then, it's got a defense, right? It's got arrogant. It's got shock absorption.
Block breakers with vile seizing.
Yeah, in danger, surviving the final. Struggling is obviously one of the best defensive foundations. Yeah. So there's defense here as well. If you don't get that turn to aggression, to build out and say, right now I'm going to kill you.
Yeah, and you got learning standards there as well.
Lots of ways of snapping momentum, and kill them with a big stun grenade or a cyclone at the end of a string.
Exactly. It's the kind of deck that can kill you from anywhere. It's got the defensive capabilities, and it was played very well. And yeah,
and he's a 7-hander, right? And that can draw 3 cards quite happily. And he's got lots of fodder that he doesn't mind just flipping to draw 2 cards. So you can do that on defense, you can do it on offense. Flipping is tight-lipped to his enamored and stuff like that, or in danger, so we're in the final. These are things that it's going to be quite happy just to say, no, I'm just going to flip it to draw.
Yeah, and you're kind of... Yeah, and with this, you're kind of trying to get that 6 build. It's kind of like Tokiyami. You're trying to get that 6 build and just go in on your next turn, and you're trying to hope you win the dice roll.
Playing that 8 spam out of a bajillion or whatever, so... Sorry, 8 non-spam in his entire
Exactly.
deck.
It's like Bakugo 1.
Again, and has that sideboard plan of, okay, my main deck plan does not work against this. Let's Nomu you. And I love the pick of the learning the standards as his sideboard option when he sides into Nomu. I'd imagine that is a 10-card package that comes in and then takes 10 cards out. So I'd imagine that's the 7 characters. And then
I could also see a swap to Bakugo 1 and just bringing the learning the standards and the prehensile tales.
Yeah, possibly. But again, I think quite often he's just going to bring those 10 characters in, take out 6, take out 7 characters, bring those 10 cards in, and then 3 attacks come out for.
You probably swap stun grenades for winged gnomes because you're not getting as much removal.
Yeah, possibly. Again, he'll know. He'll
know about
those.
That's how I would do it. Yeah, but no, absolute hats off. I don't think we didn't see it coming when we did the draft. Nobody saw this coming. As a fellow player who was able to top with a character nobody saw coming, massive hats off. You are now Davin Peanut. You are now the Bakugo 3 guy. It is your rite of passage. So let's move on to William Goodby, who was playing the other rapper. Much smaller list, much more refined, and immediately we can see calorie counters back.
Yeah, again, I think that's I don't think it's wrong to play it. I don't think it's wrong to not play it. I think it's just sort of a choice, right? I think Rapper does want to play as slimmer deck as possible because bullet punches is what kills you. Like for me, just my games against Rapper, it feels like either I die to bullet punches or I stop the bullet punches and I'm fine. Certainly, I'm sure Adam remembers our game in the RLE. I was getting hit by Gale Force punches and they hurt like hell and they blew up my stage, but I didn't get hit by bullet punches. And so I lived.
Gale Force punch is tough, but bullet punch kills.
Yeah.
Desperate Struggle in the side seems really cool. BMI Buster in the side seems absolutely amazing. But yeah, this deck seems more streamlined, more linear focused, as we're just going to keep punching, we're going to keep...
Yeah, almost full Bert and Ernie.
The Capture Ludos and the Sugar power-up in there just to go, yeah. I can kill you from turn 2, and I'm going to try and kill you.
This is looking to be much more aggressive. The other one, I think, was playing a little bit more of a longer game. This is just trying to kill you.
The deck that Nathan and Liam were running was designed slower than this with the maximum overhaul, with the maximum hardenings. This is just pure, I'm going to come out swinging from the fences.
No, maximum hardenings is one of those you play it and then you just use whatever the forcing to ender to pop it out and then continue, right? That's sort of the play there.
Yeah, I was just saying that as an example as what was in there, but yeah.
Yeah, it's just a way of getting damage pumped for Rapper because otherwise he doesn't really have it, especially on fire, unless you're playing all of your Revels and things like that. But
moving on to the last of the top 16 before going to top 8 is another legend of the game. Probably comparable to Garrett Brett as well, is Mr. Tim Keefe on Bakugo 1.
Yeah, I think Bakugo 1 again has been one of his pet decks for a while, I believe. Much like when he topped with Ibarra. I think he just wanted to take this in and Tim could top cut with whatever he wanted, really. But yeah, I think I did watch some of one of his games.
I believe that one of the commentary was walking around during round 1, saw Tim Keefe on Bakugo, and saw it was a fun, interactive sort of back and forth game. Got him on stream, and then it was just a complete slugfest on the stream.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember whether it was a Top Cup match I watched. I think it might have been.
I think they had Tim Keefe on the Top Cup, but I'm not too sure. I've been with Flynn all weekend, but let's have a look at the list. When I picked Bakugo as part of the draft, I did quote, I was quoting Air because of Nedge Race Furies, but this is just a solid...
Yeah, again, Tim coming in solid for you with a big old 9 points in total, your 6-point bonus, round 6 for him.
Yeah, good. The one thing I am surprised that's not in here, Uh, Explosive Pride. The one that your rival loses 1 life each momentum, and then if it's blocked, they discard all the momentum. To me, just feels like 3 damage. With how important momentum is at the minute,
I can't imagine it would have been something that obviously Tim wasn't aware of, right? Or forgot. I'd imagine it's something he's tested with and found it wasn't good enough against those momentum matches where you want it. It just wasn't doing enough. That would be my guess.
Red Right Unbreakable is absolutely great in here because if you get partial blocks, you're going to be burning and still discarding. Stun Grenade is, of course, a natural. Hardened Fist, being able to... Every attack in here does something and punishes and can also punish you for blocking.
Yes.
And I think this is what Bakugo one's kind of needed. Foundation-wise, we're seeing more utilization of the ability with things like learning to harden.
Hardened Fist obviously just lets you sort of almost do your face enhance for free.
Yeah, same. Learning to harden lets you draw for doing your face enhance.
Yeah.
The one thing that the commentary did pick up on, and that you're probably not going to be too happy is in here, is Confession.
Yeah, it's a weird one. I'm surprised that Tim felt it was good enough to play. It's a weird one, and I'd be curious as to why he felt he wanted to play Confession, because it's not like Death is short of good foundations to play. It might have, and I can't imagine it's just a block zone thing. It might have been a deadlock thing.
Possibly deadlock thing. It could also just been.
You've got 4 vial freezings. You're not allowed to go into deadlocks. You don't sort of need anything else necessarily.
It could also be a excited for blood thing.
Possibly.
If they don't discard an attack, they lose 1. You get to immediately respond with excited for blood and get to draw.
Yeah, it might be for triggering excited for blood. Just people are holding their highs against you for because you've got howitzer impacts and sight and
it's also Bakugo 1. Every point of damage you can get is great, and be able to, with you being essentially mono high and mid apart from the one of low, if you can get those block zones out of hand, they're not guaranteed to draw the block zones back.
Yeah. The sort of forced, because it's not a loot, right? If it was draw and then discard, it'd be horrid, but it's a rummage.
Yeah.
Say it's a discard then draw. So again, I'm assuming he has tested with that card and found it to be good enough.
Yeah, and it's one of those cards that I did hype up at the beginning, and you did beat me down a bit for it.
No, I didn't beat you down with it. I said I wasn't as sold on it as I thought as I was originally.
But I like seeing it get some love here. I don't quite agree that it should be in Bakugo. I think it does have places in other places. But again,
I'm not going to second guess him. If he thinks it's good enough to play here, then I'm sure it is.
Exactly. And if you can use it and get your opponent 1 lower, that gets you closer to your goal of killing in a single turn. Spooky is a bit of an odd one, but I guess if you try and stay alive as Bakugo 1, being able to take a little bit less damage seems really good. Or make something a lot more blockable.
Kind of, just having that option just to say, oh, I take, you're hitting me with a 4 low for 6 or for 8. Okay, I'll take 4. Or this is a 10 high for 7. Okay, now if I make it a 7, I can actually block it, kind of thing. I think you don't need to do I'll get it to 0, make it 0 damage for Spooky to be good, right? I think it's still a reasonable enough defensive piece as long as you've got some amount of speed hate. The other thing we're seeing here, obviously, there's 3 arrogance, right? We're seeing the 3 arrogance main deck, and we're not playing a thing like a Soundwave to stack the deck. It's just a good low block with a really good ability right now.
As Adam says, Spooky and Nomu turns Kali Counter into a 12 mid for 5, which is
exactly. I think it's got a utility outside of the I need to get it to 0 for it to be good type.
I think Evil Gaze is a great catch from Tim Keefe here, even one more inside. As you said quite a lot now, Chivalrous competitive feels so bad to put into decks because you're not getting that same.
It doesn't feel bad. It's more that it doesn't feel like that. I want to just play a deck that gets to play 4 of these because it's busted kind of card that you almost felt like it used to be. Because I don't know, losing One with Nature felt like a lot of that utility went, and it feels like that card now, giving the opponent a card, is a bit of a liability. It's still a good card. I'm still going to play the card, but it doesn't feel like that busted sort of level. It's not busted, but that kind of just very, very staple. Like, I think you could legitimately think about not playing the card, and that's a reasonable path.
Giving your opponent the ability to block something that hasn't been blocking before.
There's enough defensive characters, there's enough speed hate that sometimes it's just like, actually I want to hand tax you because I can't stop you blocking this stuff, but I can hand tax you and throw enough things that get through. And that's where Chivalrous becomes a liability, right?
And Evil Gaze being targetable destruction is really good because if you can keep track of what Overhaul's been building, what's been brought down, you get to go boom.
Less Chivalrous symbols are being played. Like, we're seeing much less Chaos decks, right? We're seeing fewer Earth decks. We're seeing, what's the other symbol? All?
Oh, yeah.
Again, we're not really seeing all decks. So it's not seeing as much play throughout the meta. No. Like, there was a time where you look at like the top 16 and you could see like 40 copies of Chivalrous because there's 10 decks across those symbols. Like I don't know how many we're seeing in this top 16, but it's like probably something closer to like maybe 12 or something.
2 Earths, 1 Chaos, 2 Chaos.
The actual sort of number doesn't matter, but we're just seeing a lot less amongst the meta playing those symbols, playing Chivalrous, that things like Evil Gaze should be back on the menu again.
Yeah, no, definitely. But yeah, congratulations to Tim Keefe. I think this is Bakugo 1's first top cut ever in 2 years of the game now?
I'm sure Andrew will point out when Bakugo 1 top cut if he ever watches this.
But if he has, fair play to him. But it was before we got the game, so it doesn't matter to the EU side. Let's move on to top 8 now with Corey Nelson. Corey Nelson was playing Shigaraki 3 on Order. Liam did very well with Shigaraki 3 on Order. Was telling me that the deck kind of didn't feel as good now, but Corey Nelson went bet and brought an absolute monster.
This was the match I saw was Shigaraki versus Tim. I'm sure that maybe was it. Maybe I'm making it up. I don't know. I think it was Shigaraki versus Tim.
I think Shigaraki did go up against Bakugo, and the control aspect was just so great.
Yeah.
If you can get the once per game off, it just does so much work. You've got Chronostasis Trigger, which is a breaker block, Val Season, which is a breaker block, Decaying Palm Strike, which clears progressive force as a check. Indiscriminate is just such a good kill condition. Blood Curdling can turn off a lot of effects. Mastermind, yeah, it was because Masterminding came in and Tim's checks were just getting so low.
Yeah.
League Invitations. This is a great control deck and a great example of what seven-handers can do to stay alive.
Inverted Knife Thrower as a way of kind of almost guaranteeing that momentum.
Yeah. We got to see it played, and then it went to momentum face down, and we did get the commentary quite nicely showing to the players going, oh, shouldn't it be face up? And no, it only goes face up from its ability. If it deals damage from the card pool, it goes face down because it went through normal means.
Yeah, again, this looks like a very, look at all of the foundations, a lot of them are very defensive, right? In control, Citywide Crisis, Ice Gliding, Making a Stand, Sticky Balls, League Invitation, like all of these are very, desperate times. Castle cards, they're very sort of defensive, and then he's just going to kill you when you overextend a bit.
I'm surprised there's no engine troubles for the nice little bit of asset control.
It's probably one of those, there's only so much room for actions.
Yeah.
And
I'm liking the Searing Glacial Storm for dealing with quick overextensions. Fourth kind doesn't count towards the draft, but is there.
No, I'm afraid not. But no sideboard characters count.
I like the addition of Chronostasis Trigger. I like the addition of Inverted Knife Throw. I think this is a great direction for the character to be heading in. I can't really think of anything. I think the only thing I would have possibly added differently here is I'd be putting some season brawlers in just to get even more card draw, but Shigaraki doesn't really need it.
You just don't need it. You just don't need the draw on Shigaraki, right? He just draws 1 billion cards. I think that's what, because he has the card draw on the face. So I just don't think you need it. And you've got Calling for backup, right? You've got Calling for backup. You've got his face. I don't think you need more.
If I really wanted to meme and I was really worried about Eri, I'd possibly put 1 or 2 deadbolts in the side, and that allow me to commit and freeze assets.
Yeah. Again, this isn't necessarily playing to the I'm just going to commit everything
No,
plan.
this
I think is what was it Liam that played it? At the last Sheffield RLE?
Yeah, Liam beat me in Swiss, and then he was my first matchup in the top cuts. It was not fun.
Yeah,
but really nice guy. We had fun, but
much more commit everything plan. This isn't necessarily doing that.
It is, but in a different way. This is
almost playing that fourth kind game of I'm going to stun stuff, but I'm going to let you overcommit, and then I'm going to swing back and kill you. And I'm going to stagger momentum for my Decaying Palm Slam, my once per game. So I'm going to go once per game, Decaying Palm Slam. I'm going to poke with a jolt. I'm going to check an inverted knife throw, get one of those, get a couple of momentum, and then once per game. I'm going to Decaying Palm Slam, and you're now effectively 4 foundations down for your turn.
Yeah.
And then I'm going 1.3 million.
I also think this is a great way of getting your own stun hate. Is things like League Invitation and the way that this deck's been built. It's forcing you to overcommit through checks and not just committing you down. So Liam's deck was really good, but it was more stun-based. And a stun-based strategy at the moment doesn't work. But a overcommittal due to checks purely is really good. And I think when we get the Dabi 3 stuff added in, both Dabi 3 and Shigaraki 3 are going to be very powerful.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll go over to that.
Yeah, and the fourth kind in the sideboard is just for maybe going second or just against high aggro characters, because again they play very similar game plans, right?
Yeah.
You overcommit, I indiscriminate you, and it's just he's got a bajillion health, so he just doesn't die.
Yeah, big congratulations to Corey Nelson. Great job getting to top 8 with Shigaraki 3. And now we move to Wesley Bittner on Jiro Good. This is your Future is Now, but no Staff Strike. This is just Future is Now good stuff.
Yeah.
Save 1 Million Strike is a very interesting addition.
It's almost like some hero played that at the last RLE. It's very, very good in Jiro because it's just free momentum. Like, it's what Jiro wants, right? It's just like a block with this, get free momentum. And it's a charge, it gets stats. It's something you can plop on the end of the string, and it's cheap. They've burnt their cards out blocking everything else, well, I'll just play this and it gets a whole bunch of damage, right? It's a way of getting that momentum defensively, and then go late.
Yeah, and you've got...
I do like the list.
Yeah.
Again, it's sort of, I guess, almost a little bit like I've been looking at my all list, right? He's playing 2 Amplified Sound Blast compared to like the 4 I was playing. But he's playing 4 Capture Net compared to the 2 I was there playing. And then he's doing like value plays, like the good attacks like Airstream Driver, which we already kind of went over is good. Back alley when I was at Dars, Cannon Blast, compared to doing like the Bet and Ernie stuff I was doing.
Yeah. Create Capture Net is absolutely great to see in here because with the Futures now you can get very big, very fast, very quickly and build down. It just feels like no matter what's in your hand, this deck is got some kind of line to hurt you.
Yeah. So what's he playing for zeros?
How
many zeros?
You're finished. Keeping Eri safe. It can't be fixed.
Oh yeah, I missed it. Can't be fixed. Okay, so 8 zeros. Okay.
So 8 zeros. Yeah. Self-sacrifice to cycle the zeros. Destiny Information Success is a 4, which is standard.
Your bonds is your 6.
Yeah.
Big 3 is more draw, destined for more draw.
Is determined a 6 as well? I think determined.
Yeah, determined a 6.
Yeah,
so that's always an option. You've aided copies in the board. Yeah.
Big 3 is great for Deadlock. This is an absolutely.
It's just good.
Absolutely solid, good Giro list.
But yeah, I think Save a Million Strike is just very, very good in Giro. Like, it just does the things Giro want them to do.
Yeah, and
even outside of my Mimi 3 damage thing, I think Save a Million Strike is something we should consider in it, just as an on-block response to snag that momentum and then swing back with the sound waves. And it is like a 3 difficulty charge you can chuck on the end of a string.
Exactly.
Probably pass that check, get a bunch of damage.
Something you don't need to rely on back alley setting up, because you can just drop it as a 6 after 3 attacks and it still can only get 1 foundation.
Yeah.
So here's Dylan for Ferreria. I apologize if I butchered that. On Tamaki Amajiki. League of Villains came in clutch a lot here. This is a very big list. Great to see some lesser played cards here. Like, we see Chicken Kick, we see Cheerful Uppercut finally coming back. One of Blitz. Yeah, this is a list. I think this is the list I've actually tested against last week, and it is a slow. This is a slow burn list. This is a kind of long wick candle list. You poke, you build, you poke, you build, you poke, you build. You don't care about deadlock unless your opponent has something major. You just build as much as you can, and then you just go in on a huge attack turn. You want to get your Vast Hybrid Chimeras in, you want to get your Claw Stoppers in, so you can keep drawing, so you can keep building speed, and then you go in with an indiscriminate Blitz Rush sort of turn, where you need to stop everything I'm doing this turn, or you die.
Yeah, I don't think you necessarily do that whole I'm going to build into deadlock thing, right? It's more actually the thing you need to build up, I think, with Amajiki, and this is very similar to a lot of the Amajikis, like this list. I think this is how you have to build him if you're building him on Chaos, is it's more about building up the momentum and staying alive.
Yeah.
Like, it's staying alive for like 3 to 4 turns, making sure you're getting momentum every turn, and then effectively you sort of get to the point where you sort of throw 3 lethal attacks, right? Or 3 attacks you have to deal with. So, like, you play something like a 0 gravity lift, usual once per turn. Deal with that. It's come in for 11.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll now fling an indiscriminate. You've committed a bunch of stuff for this stuff, and I've used my jolts and whatever to get you down. This indiscriminate's coming in for 11. Deal with that. Oh, you deal with that? Okay, now I'll play like an Ice Storm or something to use my momentum. This now comes in for 11. And that's like the plan of you just sort of attacking from these 3 different angles.
It's a nice little slow burn.
It's not really a string deck, right? It might string 3 or 4 when it tries to go in for the kill, but it's just trying to chip you down. Use things like your broken psyches, your once per turn, your releases, all this stuff. Just keep you alive, generate that momentum, because you can always get that momentum, and then just kill you.
I do like Broken Psyche. I think Broken Psyche is really nice. I still prefer Decoy Duplicate. It's more resource intensive, I know, and it does require momentum. But if you've got a momentum and your opponent has no momentum out and you've got a decoy down, I would be more worried about seeing a decoy than a Broken Psyche, because if I can get you to 2, that Broken Psyche doesn't do anything. If I get you to 2 and you got a decoy down, I need to have another attack in hand, or pray I draw one, because the attack is just going to get taken out.
Sure. But also it removes their progressive, and they've probably already got another one in hand. But I think Psyche is generally the better card. They do fill similar roles, but I think Psyche is generally better.
Yeah, I get that. It's just a difference of opinion. I like Broken Psyche, don't get me wrong. I think it's great for what people are trying to do, and in Amajiki, getting an attack down to 2, then making it 0 is a great way to take absolutely nothing. But to me, I just feel like running that 50-50 of are you going to draw an attack, are you going to draw a foundation, cutting out and even if they cut progressive, it's playing against my opponent and playing the mind games of can you kill me getting around this, which Broken Psyche does as well, but I'm not that worried about Broken Psyche, especially if I'm running foundations that do damage pump, because I would just... It becomes the Mirio game of baiting it out.
Yeah.
And then the last of the top 8 before we move on to top 4 is Justin Martin, who got second at Gen Con, I believe, with Mimic.
Yes, yeah, the same chap. So obviously knows how to play a Mimic. I wonder if it's the same list, whether it's the same kind of 2020.
It looks like it's the same 19 list.
19. Yeah, I knew it was the same. It was 3 numbers. That it was just like the same counts of everything.
And from what I saw the stream, it was the exact same strategy as Gen Con. You put down Twisting Azores, you put down your double jabs, you just keep getting everything to where it needs to be blocked, and you set up your early attacks to have to be blocked and waste the resources, and then your later attacks come in for even more and just absolutely do work. I think they've made a change of adding trigger transformation. I don't think they had that last time.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they did. Yeah.
But Zero Gravity Lift is absolutely beautiful.
I mean, one thing I can see for certain is that the 4th twisting has moved to the main from the side. That's definitely in there. Yeah, I mean, obviously the guy knows his Mimic. Like, he came second at the biggest RLE we've had this year, and then I think it's the biggest anyway at Gen Con, and then obviously top 80 with this. So obviously knows his stuff.
Exactly. Did absolutely beautifully on a character that he's now wildly becoming famous for, and a character that has got people wanting to try. I don't think we've had anywhere near the amount of Mimic love here, but this deck is just set up for I want to be able to kill you from any position, and as long as I see my assets, I can do. Because if I check an asset, I pick up an attack, and that attack is probably going to be a zone.
Yeah.
And if you attack me, I'm probably going to check an asset in your attack run, and I'm going to pick up an Azure. It's great to see this list running forward, and I'm really interested to see if it comes back for Nationals and how well it does at Nationals, because I imagine it's definitely in the works. So moving on to top 4, we're not going to go with the Swiss champ first. We're going to talk about how far this Tabe deck went.
Yeah, I mean, I've played a bit against Tabe recently. Like, probably one of the ones I played the most against. Like I was playing some games against Philip, number 2 in the world, Philip. His Tabe, and then my local friend had been playing a bit of Tabe, and Tabe's a bugger to play against, man. You're sort of not allowed to take momentum because it just becomes a liability. Like, anything you want to do clever-wise in the card pool, you're sort of not allowed because he just eats it. Yeah, and then Tongue Whip still kills people.
I've played against Tabe once. I completely underestimated them game 1 and got wiped out.
Tabe's aggro is good, man. Like,
I was thinking, if I can keep my momentum, I can just kill them the next turn, and then I got wiped out on that turn because I had momentum. So I stopped taking momentum. The second game was a lot closer, but Eraserhead just doesn't have a good game into Tabe because you're just losing your erasers. If you go to block with erase, they just get removed, and you're then discarding cards for nothing. It falls into the category of Minata 2 and All Might 3. These decks where you need to change your playstyle. You need to be more selective with your blocking. You need to be a lot more in control of what you're doing. And even then, you still can't always stop what Tabe is wanting to do because
sometimes it just makes things too fast, too often. You can't block. Like, personally, I think if I were building Tabe, I would build it slimmer, simply because, like, Insatiable Appetite and Tongue Whip are your best attacks. I just want to see those as much as possible. And, like, you got Eat My Sticky Balls, which is like your opener you always want to see if you can, because it's just like the damned if you do, damned if you don't situation. You get that chain rolling. Catching a Ride, I think, is very good in Tabe. And I'd probably play 4 of them. But
Catch a Terror just lets you pick up if they don't block, and you get your Tongue Whips back. Insatiable, Tongue Whip, and Amphibious are all I don't think
I don't know how I feel about Amphibious. Like again, I get what it's doing, and it kind of works with what he's doing. But I feel like actually playing on a 6 is not what this deck wants to do for a second attack.
Yeah, playing on 6, you get momentum and you do more card pull clogs. So yeah, it feels pretty good.
Yeah, I get it. I just don't know, and I think maybe 2 is the right number. Again, I was having this discussion with Philip because he wasn't loving them,
No.
and I said I think you need to play 2 at most, and it's something that I think is like if you felt you wanted to cut, would be reasonable to cut.
I think the biggest thing in this deck,
like you're using momentum, right? You're using it for Tetsuo, and that is so the momentum you don't really care about. You've got refreshing twice.
You've got successful results as well.
Yeah, so like you do have uses for it, but it's not like the biggest deal in Tabe.
I don't think this is the most defensive deck, and I think that could be an issue. But I think Tabe.
No, Tabe's like an aggro deck, right?
Yeah,
like he is an aggro deck.
I meant like foundation wise, it's not the most defensive. You have got the ability to use sticky balls defensively, which isn't great for.
Yeah, you've got to fly in the final. You've got sticky balls. You've got sharp absorption. Like you've got taking the gloves off, which I think is really a nice one just for sniping stuff.
But no, I think this is a really cool Tabe, and I think again the shock factor of how good Tabe is caught a lot of people off guard.
Yeah, I mean, I think Tabe is very solid. Like again, he's one of those decks that feels a little bit under that top tier, but I think it's a deck where if you know it and practice with it and play with it, could absolutely get there.
Yeah, know? It's a higher tier deck than people give it credit for, but it falls into the category of me of the Minatus and Minatus and all my threes. You need to adapt your playstyle, and if you can adapt your playstyle and maintain the proactive plays, Tabe is going to be in trouble. But given the way the meta is, I think Tabe is in a very sweet position of how long games are going at the minute. That the longer the game goes on, and having those restrictions on not being able to take momentum, not being able to overextend on defense, is going to make Tabe a lot stronger. And I think it's a lot more like the Shigaraki 3 sort of thing, because you're also drawing every time you use the ability, and there's no cap on that ability.
I think it fixes that evil character problem, right? Of where does evil get their card draw? Well, he just has it on face. And that's why Shigaraki 3 again, like these other characters where they solve that card draw problem of just on face.
Yeah, it solves a lot of the problems Asui 2 had. Asui 2, I think, is a really cool character, but I think Tabe does what she wants to do, but better.
Yeah.
Let's move over to the Swiss champ, the Overhaul Earth Daniel Tickle. Again, really nice list. We've got the Maximum Overextend card, Reconstruction Record, beautiful. Lots of mimicries being seen in the top. Both top 4 characters had mimicry with.
Yeah, mimicries, are fine as a one-off because it's a green card that's also like actually a foundation kind of to an extent. Like it does sort of do the things. It does the things you want to do. I don't know. It's one of those ones where it's just very flexible. And so it makes sense to have a slot, just can't commit it.
Do you know what I'm not seeing on this list? New training method.
Yeah.
We've got the brute strength, we've got Homage to My Hero, which is brilliant. Prehensile Tail, quick act, take off the gloves. This is a really nice list. It's not the kind of list that we've seen, it's a bit like what we've seen before, but there's a lot of stuff in here that is very different. Teamwork, I don't think we've seen many running gaps.
I would say I want to say it's a slightly more aggressive one because it's got things like homages, which I didn't think the other one had. It's got the carbo loadings.
Yeah, and it's the bad guy roundup, the hand chops. This is designed to more be on the aggressive of the mid-range scale, where you're just going cool. Rather than just building, and then going in for a kill string, you're going poke, build. You're looking for that. You're kind of poking, looking for the soft spot, and when you find the soft spot, you're going in hard.
Yeah, see, I think, again, I'm sure I watched the match with this chap playing the game, and I think he ran into the issue with Maximum Overhaul is when you draw 2, it's like, I only actually want 1, because you don't get to do the thing twice.
Yeah. And with it being a new card, and you get that new shiny syndrome where once it's in your hand, you feel like you have to play it to get the value of it straight away.
Yeah, I think it's like you play 2 of them, maybe.
So let's move on to our finalists, and huge shout out to Jacob. Nomu guy, been repping Nomu since day one, has had dances with other characters, but back in with Nomu.
Punched the crap out of Kevin game one in the finals. Like I did watch most of the finals.
Game one of the finals, Kevin was, I believe, going first and still was put on the back foot against Nomu.
Yeah.
This is just a list of, if it hits you, it's going to hurt.
That's just Nomu, right? In general.
Muscle Mauler is a 12 damage attack. Calicat is a 12 damage attack. A Hardened Chop is a 9 damage attack that feels bad to block. Jab is the most blockable thing in this list, but is just pure value because it just replaces itself.
Yeah, but again, he needs jabs, right? In this sort of list, because it's, again, you're a 5-hander. Sometimes your builds are wonky. Jab is a way of accelerating that build, right? But it's also a way of having like extra attacks. Like again, you build an attack down, you play a jab, build it back up, and it's a way of, like, jab does a lot of greasing the wheels for I think especially Nomu in terms of getting around that 5-hand size problem.
Yeah, Relentless Barrage, great for drawing. This is an all mid list apart from Hardened Chops.
Yeah, and that was sort of, I think obviously Kevin knew that going into the final.
Yeah, he gets to see the list.
List, but it just means he knows what blocks to hold, right? And Momo gets just so many breaker blocks on mid that I think actually, like, even taking that first game was a big, again, like, just as a purely deck versus deck, ignoring the players, I think taking a game off Momo was a big deal, which the amount of mid breaker blocks that Momo has.
Going in against Momo, who has quick create with the breaker on it, which they want to build down as a pure mid, knowing they can pick it up at any point they've checked it is absolutely huge.
But it's just this is a deck that you're not allowed to go into deadlock against.
No, and he did. He went into deadlock a couple of times.
I think he only dipped over with the kind of, I'm just going to go back down, because 3 porno punches, 3 snack time. Someone with style. Prehensile. Well, prehensile tail porno punches are the big ones, right? And snack time. I know, draw cards, everything gets throw, and everything gets like 2 speed and stun 1. Like the interesting one is locking the building. Like, it's a card I've not evaluated in my head how
I like locking the building.
Like that card.
You get the +1 mid block when you've blocked with it, and you get to lock something in the card pool on play, which can be really cool. Being able to stop.
Obviously, something he to playing the thing though. So again, he's got the surprise interceptions in the side, so obviously an effect that he values.
With the way that Mirio's playing at the minute, where they play 2 attacks, or they play 3 attacks, then they clear the card pool, being able to lock one of those attacks in there.
Against Mirio, it's none of that catch evildoers. It's stopping it at the source. It's saying, okay, I play this locking the building down. Your Phantom Threat now doesn't work, right?
Yeah.
I'd imagine that's probably the biggest thing this is there for.
Phantom Threat state doesn't get to go to momentum. Deal with it.
Yeah.
Against Jiro, instant explosive release doesn't get to go to momentum.
Your Phantom Threat doesn't clear. B, your Phantom Threat does now no longer give you momentum for your catch evildoers this turn.
Yeah.
And C, I'm just going to take 6 from it. What are you going to do?
That's just it. Yeah, he doesn't get to leave couple. Big Appetite getting you some draw. Talented Baker for speed. Quick attack for.
Talented Baker's an odd one because you don't think he's necessarily drawing that much. I guess.
Muscle Mauler. You get Muscle Mauler draw, Back Alley draw. You get Big Appetite draw, Chivalrous draw.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know. For me, I always want a bit more draw for Baker, but maybe unrolled. And maybe it just like it was this is a reasonable low block you're putting in my deck type thing.
Yeah, exactly. It's also a low block, but I'm loving locking the building. It's something I've been umming and ahhing about for my own decks. But
again, I don't know how relevant ever that top enhance was. Because you've got to block with it, and then they have to effectively play a second mid into this enhance that they are aware of. But I think that bottom response destroy.
Yeah.
I'd imagine, again, I'm sure Jake will be able to say either way, came up very well against things like the phantom threats, like instant explosive release.
I think the first the card pull enhance lock in the building, I think is a great mind gameplay, because if you block, a lot of decks are kind of going back alley into Rejuving. If you can block locking, if you can block with locking the building, and go, if you play your Rejuvenating Smash, I am blocking it with a +1 mid block.
Yeah, again, it's like it's a bit of value and something you're happy to build. And like I said, imagine the reason it's in the deck is that bottom response.
Yeah.
And then it's also got some text up top which might come up every so often.
Yeah, the ability to just lock in the capital, especially the way that Mirio's playing it, just allows you to the way Capture Lever is being played. That's a great little bit of tech piece, because after the tech is played, just boom, yeah, it can't leave the capital during the combat. Can't be kicked, can't be moved. And I guess if it came up against Bakugo 1 as well, he goes, yeah, that has to stay there.
Yeah.
Then let's move on to the world number 1, the boss, the legend, the guy that beat his own brother in the Swiss event.
I think he also beat Tim, didn't he? Well, I know he played Tim in Swiss.
I believe he played Tim, but I know he beat his brother down in Swiss as well. We got Kevin Broberg on Momo Yaoyorozu Good.
Yeah.
This is
obviously a character Kevin's long been known for playing. Played a lot of it, I think, over the course of the game, to be honest.
This is an absolute menace of a list. You've got UA Highs help with picking up allies, Command Pigeon Flock.
Yeah, so again, I was listening to some of the interview with him. So it's just lots of different interlacing packages that sort of help each other.
Well, that's just it. What I was going to say is it reminds me of the Midnight list that won the Worlds, which was running Summon Dark Shadows. It was running lots of interlayering packages that also had that Venn diagram of they all help each other here. And if you can get to that singularity where all these cards show up at the right time, you're going to be unstoppable. But even on their own, they're going to be hard to deal with.
Yeah. I Am Here is a cool one. How good it is, I don't know. But obviously, again, one of those cards that seems really fun and cool to play, but I've always kind of, is this actually good?
I think if you can...
Playing in a deck, I'm assuming it is good.
There's only one Rejuvenating Smash in there, but if you can I Am Here into Rejuvenating Smash, you are laughing all the way to the bank.
Yeah.
There's a lot of 1-of and 2-of attacks.
Obviously, there's a lot of Echo, right? So he's got like the 3 twin swords, the 2 double troubles. That's it.
1-of Final Smash is really cool. Forceful Blow to pick up to help with recycling of foundations.
Mm-hmm.
Training with Earphone. I did not see Earphone Jack, and that's really cool. I didn't get to see Earphone Jack getting played. Only 2 quick creates.
It's not a standard Momo list.
No.
But it's doing Momo things, right? There's lots of buttons to press and cycling things, and I get value out of this, which gives me value out of that, which then gives me value out of this. And it's like, you're spending 4 resources to get 5. It's sort of how I feel like a lot of the Momo stuff works. In that, it's never like I sack 1, draw 2 kind of, pay 1 to draw 2. It's almost like you end up like paying 3 to draw 4, kind of that sort of exchange rate.
Yeah.
And there's lots of, obviously lots of defense. Like Momo's obviously been very well known for that.
Looking at this list and looking at Garrett Brett's list and looking at Tim Keefe's list, I'm starting to see that the way to advance my deck building now is to break off from this linear build I've been going with, where it's like my deck has a purpose, that's the purpose it's going for. Because now decks are going, okay, this is your purpose, I'm going to block you, how else do mine? And then you've got these decks like Garrett's, you've got these decks like Kevin's, which are going, I am doing so much that you do not know what direction I'm coming at you from.
I don't agree. I think both points are valid, and I think it depends on the deck you're playing. I think you can play single-minded decks, right? So, for example, whether that be like an Air Jiro or a Tokiyami, you don't really play tech pieces in those to an extent in the same way of these, because they are here dead. I've got Plan A. I don't have a Plan B or Plan C. I've got Plan A, and then I've got like my sideboard bits to reinforce Plan A for certain matchups and stuff like that, and to stop your Plan A so I can enable mine. Things like, especially like a Momo or the way Garrett built Midnight, it's much more of a almost I'm going to lean on my play skill and knowing how to evaluate what cards I need in when and play all these like ones and two ofs and these other bits. And I'm playing a different game plan. I'm going to change what I'm doing on the fly. And like again, Tim's was a bit more linear in terms of the thing it's doing. It's just doing big fury things. But again, there was a lot more nuance to it. But I don't think that necessarily makes the deck better than other decks just as a flat thing. I think it's very much and part of what makes this game good, it's their expression of how they like to play the game and cards they value and ways they want to play their deck in terms of the way they built it, in terms of, like I say, all these one-offs, these tech pieces that we were, sometimes, we wouldn't necessarily play, but they agree with. Like, if I was building a good deck, I'd probably start with 4 that can't be fixed in the list. He's playing 1.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm not going to disagree with you, but that isn't how I would build the deck. And I think these are all valid choices.
And it's the same with the one back alley Haymaker. Even though it doesn't have the best value in Momo because you can't recur it, you'd still be expecting more than 1.
Yeah, exactly. I think looking at it from they're doing this thing, that must be the best way to do it. There's value in that, because these are some of the best players to ever play the game, right?
I wasn't saying it's the best way to do it. I'm just thinking of my own personal growth. If I want to grow as a player, if I want to grow with my deck building, I need to start more understanding how these decks are getting built, how players like Kevin, how players like Grant look at these lists and they go and look at cards and go, okay, I need one of these, 2 of these, 1 of these, and whereas we look at back at Haymaker and got 4 of, and then Kevin can look at back and go, I only need 1. These are the cards I need 4 of, and these are the cards I need 1 of, and I need to get to the point where I can look at Garrett's list, I can look at Kevin's list, and I can go, I can work backwards, I can reverse engineer and go how he came to this decision, because at the minute I look at these lists and I hit a wall very quickly when I'm trying to reverse engineer the thought process, and that is highlighting to me a very significant limit to what my deck building skills are at the minute. And if I want to if I want to keep going, if I want to keep taking this game as seriously as I am,
I disagree. I don't think it's that at all. I think you're being a bit too down on yourself there, to be honest. I think, like, as Jesse is saying in chat, welcome, Jesse. I haven't seen you in chat before, so welcome to UKVersus. And so he's saying this is very much a Broberg deck, right? And then when you looked at Garrett's list, everyone was saying that's a Garrett list. They are doing the thing that they are comfortable doing and like doing and are good at doing. And I think it's more a case of find the thing that you are good at doing, comfortable doing, and do that, rather than necessarily saying, okay, yeah, and I understand the desire to say these are the 3 of the best players who have played the game, they must be doing something right, learn from them, absolutely, but do it from a perspective of, okay, I've looked at this list and I've got my own good Momo list. I never considered putting in Raven the Villain Hideout. Maybe I'll consider that for my list. But I don't think, like, trying to necessarily copy the way they build their decks is a bad thing or a good thing, right? I'm not saying you shouldn't do it, but I'm not saying it's okay, I'm missing something here. I think it's like personality in a deck. Like, you are seeing the personality of these people in their deck building choices. And it's one of, the best things about this game is because of the way the deck building works and the way the game flows, because you're not just drawing one card a turn. You draw up your hand size. You're drawing 5, 6 cards a turn. You're cycling the cards. And you get to see, and you've got much more space to play one-offs, tech pieces, pet cards, things like this, and force decks to still be good. That I think it becomes much more a personal thing.
Yeah, and developing a personal style.
I would say, don't look at these lists. Think I can't reverse engineer it. Therefore there's something wrong with me. I need to learn. I think it's more okay. This was their thinking process, but this isn't how I approach it. What can I learn from them to take to my approach to this list? Is the way I would think about it.
Well, that is how I'm thinking about it, but I'm doing that through the process of reverse engineering. I'm looking at the cards going, okay, why is that card there? Why did Garrett, why did Tim, why did Kevin put that card in there, which is a card I wouldn't have done myself, and trying to come to my own conclusion as to why they put it there. And as Apple saying, you've got my double jab pummel sort of thing, and everyone has their own little personality style with it, but it's one of the things that I personally believe the wall is real, and every single player will come across that wall, and I'm starting to feel, especially with Nationals coming up, and how this is our first in-person Nationals, it's probably going to be a lot fairly bigger than last time. I'm not going to say it's going to be like too much, but we're going to be at least a fair bit bigger than last time. And I don't know if it's me just being down on myself, I don't know if it's me overthinking, but I feel like I've hit a wall deck building, and I have not even started properly testing for Nationals, because after the last RLE, I sat down, looked at my cards, and I was like, I cannot figure out what I need to do to move forward. And looking at these lists, looking at the way Garrett's building, looking at the way Kevin's building, and looking at how they've done it, and trying to figure out what clicked in their head to say, this is how I get to this position, is what I need to start, is what I need to figure out in my own head of going, I need to start looking at these cards I had written off, I need to start looking at everything, and then going...
I think the answer to the problem is unfortunately something you can't actually fix, and that's Kevin spent 2 years playing Momo at a high level.
Yeah.
You don't have that, right?
No.
So you're not going to have those reps that says that he knows that 2 new training method is correct, but I want 4 smaller limbers, right? You're not going to have that kind of muscle memory or brain, and sort of know that is the correct number because I played this, I've repped it enough times.
No, and it goes back to what I was saying before the beginning of this as well.
And also then going back even further, Kevin's been playing this game for 10, 15 years. You don't have that experience.
Before we went for the list, I was saying that I built a Dabby deck for the Patriot webcam event. I won the Patriot event with it. And I literally messaged Mike Hardiman going, this is my most uninspired list because I felt like it took me no effort to put this Dabby deck list together, and yet people struggled against it. And I think that's how Kevin came up on this. He just looked at the cards and went, this is how he went, boom, this is the most.
Get a list, right? It's like you are never going to go into UVS, find a character, make a list of cards, and that is your finalized list, a perfect list, right? And I can almost guarantee you that Tim, Kevin's, and Garrett's lists are they like iteration 7s or something, right? That's like they've built iteration 1, they've played some games, they find out what they're doing, they don't like, they've made a change, they've played that, made another change, and they've gone through they've gone through an iterative process to get to the list as it is.
And that is probably my biggest issue, is not being able to go through multiple iterations, is the fact that when I am available to play at the minute, nobody else is available to play. I have no locals.
Exactly the same.
I have no local scene, I have no actual ways to play, so I can... I think I've built 3 different Dabby decks, 3 different Lock decks, and it's a case of when I actually find someone to play against, they're not always wanting to play competitively, and I then don't get the same level of testing. And I think if I can get reps in, I could advance a bit further. But yeah, that actually makes more sense. It's a case of getting the reps in with characters that I'm not used to playing, finding my own personal playstyle for them is better than looking at other people's lists and trying to mimic the energy they were putting in their own list and try and find my own energy in my own list and getting those reps in.
So, like, for example, take your Midnight deck, right?
Yep.
You like Midnight is a character you have a lot of experience with, and you came. It was literally 17th, wasn't it?
17th, yeah, one shot.
Yeah. So you bubbled. What that means is you did really well with your Midnight deck. I appreciate the disappointment of not top cutting, but bubbling means you did very well. But now you have the opportunity to go and look at that Midnight list and think, okay, and something that I don't because I'm lazy and I'm too old and I can't bother with this sort of shit. Is okay. I play my round, win or lose. What cards were good? What cards did I not were actually underperforming? What cards overperformed? What cards did my opponent play against me that I wasn't prepared against? And just make some notes.
Yeah, that is something I need to do.
And you come out at the end and you're like, because I think actually Andrew was talking about this, and he does exactly the same thing with his tournament, as he makes notes of what stuff went well, and so you can come out the back of that tournament and say, okay, I've got 4 easily excited in my list. The speed was overkill. I don't need that much spam. I can cut one of these back and play a blah blah blah, or something else instead.
Yeah.
And like for me, just as that feels like almost like your best starting point of a thing to iterate on at the moment. And then aside from that, you can then look at Garrett's list, right? Who's also playing Midnight and Void. You do a different attack lineup, so the context of the cards in his list are different, but it means you can look at his list and think, okay, this is a card I had discarded or I had not thought about. Maybe I can reconsider it. Maybe I test with it. Maybe I just put some of these in, see how I feel about it. Or, like, let's say, for example, you're playing a Rewind Throttle, right? And let's say the other option for that slot was X 4-diff non-punch or something. When you're playing games with it, you can always look at your set. Whenever you draw that Rewind Throttle, one thing you can sort of mentally do is, what if this was that other card? Or the other way around, right? If you decide, I'm going to try to test the other one, is what if this card was actually X?
Yeah.
Would this have been better? Would this have been worse? And unfortunately, there isn't an answer other than it is an iterative process, and it is test,
and it's
reps.
Hopefully once Robin's back, I can start getting a bit more testing in. I can start getting a bit more prepped. But until then, I'm just gonna have to keep trying getting games in, making lots of iterations of decks and trying them out. But let's move on. We're now 2 hours in, so let's quickly go through all these lovely reveals we've had. You don't want to go for previous day?
Well, I mean, I think actually we've gone on 2 hours. It's 11 of the night. Let's skip that. Maybe do it next week.
If my suspicions are correct, I think we're only going to get 2 weeks of content creation, so we could probably go through them all on Sunday, because then we should have the full 2 weeks.
Yeah, that feels better to me. We've gone on for 2 hours. We've been long enough.
Yeah.
Yeah. And obviously we've covered a lot. We've covered obviously the people who top 16, the Rochester. Congratulations to all of you. We had a bit of a chat at the beginning about sort of and sort of again. Then I suppose again at the end. So beginning and end of this is that deck building process, that getting ready for nationals, getting ready for those big events. What can we do? And randomly apply land.
Now you see, Richard's trying to wrap up here, so we don't go and look at the table.
I might be trying to skip the table. At the moment.
So Richard has been leading the table pretty much all the way through, and then we had a bit of an upset over the weekend.
Well, I mean, not so much an upset, more that I didn't do so well. Adam did a lot better than me overtook it, and Chris smashed it.
It was more that none of your characters that you could get bonuses for
no
got top. So I walked away with 2 characters topping, which was Bakugo 1 and Midnight. Unfortunately, both went out in the top 16, but they both did very well. So I got 14 points. Matt came through with another. It was.
You got some points from Amajiki.
Amajiki getting into the top 8, got 4 points. You got Overhaul.
And Mimic. Mimic's done me a solid. He's my second highest scoring character. Obviously, Overhaul has been doing the heavy lifting. But yeah, obviously my All for One, Dabby 2, and All Might 4 picks have done nothing.
Yeah, well, not there's still Vegas stuff, but I don't think Dabby 2 is going to quite get you there here. But All Might 4 might make a return.
Yeah.
Then we got Chris, who came out of absolutely nowhere to smash on the bonus points, getting Shigaraki 3, Tabe, and Momo.
Tabe and Shiggy 3, all those bonus points. Momo winning, Tabe top 4 and Shiggy top 8 and obviously missed out on Mirio, which has been doing heavy lifting for him so far. But
25 points purely from Mirio for Chris. Still has Sasaki, Ochako 1 and Night Eye to claim points from.
Yeah, and they could squeak one at Las Vegas maybe. So Chris, I don't out of the running.
I think fourth.
It's fair to say that you and Matt are out of the running now.
I would need the entire top 16 to be made up of Fourth Kinds, Denki 1s, Endeavour 2s, Bubble Girls, and Lock Blocks in order to come back. I need everyone else not to get any points, and then that would get me 1, 4, 8, 13, 21 points purely on bonuses. And then if all my 8 characters make up the entirety of the top 16, I might just have enough to squeak up, but I can't take first. I can't get 60 points in a single go.
Yeah, I think Matt's probably out of the running.
Not out of the running, but it's more
between me, Chris, and Adam.
But we did skip Adam, and Adam this weekend rocked up points. Got 6 points at 6 point for Nomu. 6 points for Nomu, making it second. Rapper got him 3 points. Jill got 4. Toya ended up netting 3 with a 5-point bonus for 21 points to make him the new king of the draft. Only 6 points ahead of you.
Yeah, Jiro just racking up those numbers. That 4th round Jiro is painful. Yeah, and look at that. Look at the totals for each of those things. He's the only one that consistently has got double figures every single week, right?
Yeah,
every single RLE.
It's going to be very interesting to see what he picks for Nationals draft, and we've got a lot more people in Nationals draft, so we need to actually secure the number, and I need to get onto the last person to see if they're actually going to join.
Yeah, so we're going to have a Nationals draft. Everything sort of TBC a little bit for now, but
once the last person's confirmed, I'll get a video up together of a trailer for how it's going to work.
But yeah, it's going to be a star-studded event of content creators.
Everyone's very hyped for it.
Yeah, drafts are fun, man.
Yeah.
Obviously, we'd love to have invited more people. Logistics say you can't have that many people.
No.
So anyone that would have loved to have been part of it and isn't, this isn't because we don't like you. It's not because we don't love you. It's because
if we were to open it up more, we would literally have to do it more as a Google form sort of thing, and we could literally get the entire community involved. And you have it as a Google form that goes straight into the spreadsheet, and anyone who wants to join can sign up. We can have multiple people having multiple picks, and we just see who can essentially get the best draft team, and we just report on it rather than doing a live draft.
Yeah, I mean that's something we could do as a side thing, actually.
We could do we could do a live draft that we do here, and then we could go. If the community wants to get involved.
I'm thinking almost as an idea, speaking out loud as a community thing, if we do a Google form, we say we take all. You know how you get those silly things on Facebook where it's like you've got $10 to build a superhero team, and like Iron Man costs $5 and Ant-Man costs 4 or whatever. And you know, you've got $10 to build a team out of your thing, so you've got a bunch of 5, bunch of 4. A similar thing where essentially everyone gets, you know, we tier the characters, and you've got to pick someone from
I don't know
tier.
quite how. I guess you.
Again, it might not work in practice, and this is just be spitballing out loud, but something on those lines.
Yeah, if we had an established tier list of heroes to do that, like an official one, that made more sense. I think the only thing you could do is limit it to set. So you'd be like, pick three characters from set 1, set 2, set 3, set 4, set 5, and that's your team.
I mean, that's just be boring, because then everyone just picks Miriam Overhaul in set 5 and blah blah blah, and everyone picks.
But if people had picked Miriam set 5 for this one, they'd have got no points for him.
No, I'm just I know. Again, it was just like a spitballing. It might not pan out, but maybe.
I don't know quite how you'd code it that way in the style, but I would be interested to see how we could do it, open up, because as Jesse's put in there, and when we did the first draft, lots of people were like, they want to be involved in it, and I think it's something that it could be really popular, and it could just be something that could be fun, but it'd be us trying to figure out how to logistically, like you said, make it so that we don't just end up with 100 people with the exact same team.
Yeah. But yeah, so yeah. See the details of the draft be finalised soon.
Once I get a hold of
it. But for now, I think that's probably us for this evening.
Yeah, that's it. We'll be back on Sunday to go over previews. Then it's the draft after that. Then it's Vegas, so we'll be back on Tuesday the 3rd for the final ban list before national seasons, which probably won't affect us, if there's any bans anyway.
Yeah.
And then after that, it's EU Nationals. 4 weeks.
Yeah.
That's terrifying.
At some point. But anyway, yeah, so everyone in chat, thank you for joining us and following along. Everyone watching on YouTube, as usual, thank you for watching the video. Do the things, it helps the channel, helps get us out to other people. Like, subscribe, bells, algorithms, comment, you know the stuff. But yeah, so yeah, thanks everyone.
Give me 1 second, I'm trying to figure out how to raid over. There we go. Yeah, so thanks everyone for joining. We're going to raid you over to Ace Maneuvers, who's going over the spoilers, and we'll catch you on Sunday. Bye.